Okay. Number 10 also might have thrown you off because it actually comes out evenly. Did you guys find that? So anybody find it? Flip back to number 10 real quick. So 196 divided by 2 is 98. Divided by 2 is 49, which is 7 and 7. Did we get that far? At least some of you, did anybody in here? I have a couple people in mind, just know that the square root of 196 is 14. Yeah, some of you guys probably already knew that in your head because, you know, geniuses. We are in the presence of geniuses. But I wanted to make sure I did the tree because I'm sitting here thinking if I'm on a test or quiz, I just do all the work out just to be sure. So pair of twos, circle cancel. Pair of sevens, circle cancel. Now I have the -6 outside times the circled 2 times the circled 7, and there's nothing left inside. This one just comes out evenly. So what's 12 times 7? 84. So -84. Satisfying. All right, flip to number 12. That one's spicy, as I mentioned. And I really tried to not look stupid this morning as I sat there before school, getting ready for school. And I was like, I don't think there's a diamond for that. And then I sat there and looked and I was like, I really don't think there's a diamond for that, but I don't want to look dumb. So then I Desmosed it and I noticed that there wasn't a diamond for it. So quad formula. We need to practice it anyway. A equals 11, B equals 10, C equals 10. This is probably is the spiciest problem we're going to do all day, just so you know. Okay. A equals -b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Any questions about where I plug stuff in and whatnot? Okay, now I'm going to go to the calculator and I'm going to just do the part under the square root. I'm going to type it exactly how it looks. So 10 squared minus 4 times 11 times 10, -340. Okay, so that's the moment when you're like, oh, I'm kind of in for it here. You're like, oh no, this is a spicy one because -340 is kind of a pain. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fix the negative. By making it I root 340. I'm going to do that first. And then I'm going to find somewhere on my paper where there's space. And I'm going to simplify the square root of 340, just like we did on the other warm-up. So 340 divided by 2 is 170. Divided by 2 is 85, which is 17 and 5. Okay, now, do you see any pairs in my factor tree? 2s, beautiful. So circle 1, cancel 1. Okay, let's be very careful here. I have -10 plus minus, and then that circle 2 is going to come out in front of this I. And what is left over that I did not circle or cancel in the original problem here? 85, right? 17 times 5. So 17 times 5 is 85. I can tell 17 times 5 is 85 because I just go one step back up into the factor tree. And then I need to reduce. I'm going to get my red pen to reduce. 5, 1, 11. -5 plus or minus I root 85 over 11. Any questions about that one? I know it's spicy. That's, by the way, the worst those will ever get. That is like ghost pepper level for quad formula. Carolina Reaper level, maybe not, because that would be like a giant number in this further. 340 wasn't that bad. You guys know what I mean by the Carolina Reaper? Yeah. Yeah. I can't even handle medium salsa personally, so yeah, it's not a strength I have eating the spicy foods. No. Okay, now let's move to the domain and range page. Did anybody have a chance to try these? You're like, were you too scared? Wait for Mrs. Solomon. The domain and range. Okay. All right, so domain is X. Gonna make my X here. Gonna mark up my X axis. It starts here and goes to here on the X. And you see how that's like, you know, a closed range there. It's just doesn't go off in either direction. There's no arrows. Okay, so we're gonna put the left. We're gonna put the right. What letter should go in the middle if we're doing domain? X. Okay, and then the question you ask yourself is, does it really touch here? Yes. And does it really touch here? Yes. You got it? You got it? I'm proud of you. Proud of you. Okay, now the range. Here's the bottom of the circle. Here's the top of the circle. Bottom of the circle is at 1. Top of the circle is at 5. Y in the middle. Does it touch at 1? Yes. Does it touch at 5? Yes. Okay, now we're really going to be able to see if you understand what is or is not a function right now. Is this a function? No. No. It fails the vertical line test a lot of places. Anywhere in here, it would touch the circle twice. And we don't need to answer any other questions when it's no. Okay, number 8. So anybody like gets scared for the fact that this looks like it's going vertical? I promise you it's going to cover the whole x-axis, even though it looks like it's going vertical right here. It's going to go slow, but it's going to go forever to the left. Yeah, and forever to the right. But this is kind of deceiving because it looks like it's tiny bits. But if you think about infinity, it will go forever to the left and forever to the right. So practice your fancy R. Okay, range, however, it's going to go forever up for sure. We got that. And then the lowest point is the x-axis. So how do we write that? Let me get you started. Y is greater than or equal to 0. Gorgeous. Geniuses. First period, you're awake. You must have had a good night's sleep. I like it. Okay, is it a function? Yes. Is it continuous? Yes. All right, you guys can put your packets away when you're ready. Yeah, just quick, please. So today we're going to work on the same thing we worked on yesterday, the hyperbolas. Remember the asymptote, the Gandalf, and the swoopy graphs? Okay, we're doing that all again today, and then we're going to take notes on it on the very last thing. There's one of these on the next quiz, one of these 1 over x delios. So on number 33, I'm actually going to have you practice this with no calculator. But I want to make sure that you understand what the requirements are because if you notice, we actually used the calculator to make the table yesterday. So I need you to know kind of what I need to see if you have no access to a calculator. And then let's talk about this. So your homework is 42 to 46. On 46, I only want you to do A, D, and E. Don't do the whole problem. Just do A, D, and E. Does that make sense? It's one of those that has like 70 parts. I only want you to do part of it because otherwise you can spend your whole day doing it. Okay, now that's due Friday. Tomorrow's not Friday though. That's because we have math testing tomorrow. So this is your reminder to bring a charged Chromebook tomorrow for the math test. You will not have homework. You won't have additional homework on the block day. You just have the math test. Your homework's not due until Friday. So it's a trade-off. You have to do the math test, but you only have one homework assignment. Good. Okay. Oh, and then this is my note for the day. It says, and then the teacher said you may take notes, and everyone gets up and takes a picture of the screen instead of writing them down. You know, 2024 problems. Except for that. No, we can't take notes with our phones anymore, and our Chromebook cameras are terrible. All right, now I want to tell you guys something real quick in case you are not aware. We have, I'm just for the whole school, just letting you know, tomorrow we have a safety presentation in Access. And then Thursday is going to be our first fire drill. So mentally in Access. So prepare mentally for whatever Access class you have. Tomorrow is going to be safety presentation, the one we have to do at the start of every year. And then Thursday is going to be our fire drill. Okay. Go ahead and set this up. Alrighty, so for number 31, we're going to review what we did yesterday and just write down everything we know about a rational function. So I just threw in a generic letter here, H. So we're going to write down just what we know generically about this. So I can tell from looking at this that the type is a rational function. And that's something you're just going to have to remember for that quiz. So you're going to have to be, one of the things you're going to have to be able to do is be on the lookout for that 1 over x situation. And this the shape is going to be a hyperbola. Okay. What else did we learn about this yesterday? So we learned that there were asymptotes. There were 2 of them. There's a vertical asymptote at x equals h. Okay, does anybody need me to explain why it's positive h? Why the asymptote is at h? So remember, you guys, we did x plus 7 yesterday with our first one, and our asymptote ended up being at -7, because -7 is the thing that would make it 0 in the denominator. Okay, if that is something that your brain struggles with, just come over here, set the bottom equal to 0. And you can find the asymptote that way. So if it doesn't immediately occur to you where that vertical asymptote is, just go over to the side, set the denominator equal to 0, and solve for x, and that's where your asymptote will be. Okay, do you guys remember that there was also a horizontal asymptote? Does anybody remember where it was yesterday? We were asleep, Mrs. Talbot. It was Monday morning, 8:30. It was at 0. It was actually along the x-axis. If you remember, I was all upset. I had to put red pen over top of the blue pen. My red pen doesn't like it when I draw on top of the blue pen. It's mad at me for a little while. There's a hook right there. Okay, now, is it always 0, Mrs. Talbot? You're wondering? The answer is no. It depends on what number is right here. And if there's nothing here, what is it? 0. Okay, so just hold that thought until we get to the notes. Okay, what else did we learn? We learned about the domain and range. The domain was everything except x cannot be where the vertical asymptote is. The range was everything except where the horizontal asymptote is. Okay, last thing we're going to do in this problem is we're going to draw a little baby sketch. I'm going to get my red pen out for my asymptotes. My 5th period, they're so cute. They started calling them the Gandalf lines. Like, well, not proper academic vocabulary, but adorable. Okay, notice I didn't plot any points for my hyperbola. I just won it. When you are taking the quiz next week on you get this problem, you're not going to be able to really plug in, and you could, but you don't need to plug in any points. You're just going to wing the curve. What I mean by that is you're just going to sketch it in. You're not going to be worried about precision. Precision should come from the asymptotes, not from the curve. Okay. Now, number 32. We're going to do a couple things with number 32. I want you guys to tell me what you know about this before we touch a calculator. So look up here. What do we know about 1 over x plus 25 without touching a calculator? What type is it? Parabola, line. Oh, I don't know. Rational function? Yeah. What would its shape be? A hyperbola. Okay, now this is where we're going to get into the serious, do we understand? Also, I'm a lazy human being, and from now on, the whole rest of the chapter, I'm going to write VA capitals for vertical asymptote and HA for horizontal asymptote because I just can't. So what I mean by that is after this moment here, I'm going to go VA. We're all going to understand that that means Mrs. Talbot was too lazy to write out the words vertical asymptote. Okay, now, if you're really understanding the math here, where would that vertical asymptote be? Perfect. But you have to make sure to put x equals negative 25. Am I going to mark that wrong? Like minus a half, probably. Okay, what would the horizontal asymptote be? Beautiful. Make sure to get your x and y. What will the domain be? All reals except x cannot be negative 25. See all the things you can do without even looking at the picture? Range, all reals except, that's a lie, 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 that should be y, that should be y. Y cannot be 0. Okay. Now here's the tricky part about this. The vertical asymptote is negative 25. That's really far over for us to draw. Okay, I want to mess with the window on your graphing calculator. So if you guys could get your graphing calculator out or grab one. This is the one time we're going to use it this period. Okay. So turn your calculator on. Probably don't have a bunch of warm-up stuff on there. Hit y equals. And you might still have this in here from yesterday. If you do, you're kind of lucky. Otherwise, go ahead and put in 1 divided by parenthesis x plus 25 parenthesis. Make sure that none of your plots are highlighted up above. Those should not be have the black box around them, whatever highlighted. Okay. Once you get the 1 divided by parenthesis x plus 25 parenthesis, I want you to do something very specific. Hit the zoom button. It's in the top middle, and then the number 6. hit the zoom button and then number 6. Zoom 6. And you're going to get a very unsatisfying picture.
Yeah.
Okay, why is that? It's because I had you go from -10 to 10. And where's our asymptote going to be? 25, -25. We are not able to see -25 right now. So what I want to teach you guys to do is how to shift your window over so that you can see it. We want -25 to be in the middle. Okay, so hit this button, the window button. And I want -25 to be in the middle. So I want my X min to be -35 and my X max to be -15. Anybody know why those numbers make sense? Yeah, it's 10 on either side of -25. So -35, -15. Okay, now just hit the graph button, just the plain graph button. And now the calculator has fixed it, shifted over -25 units so that you can actually see your hyperbola. Okay, Mrs. Salvett, I probably don't want to have this window on all the rest of the math problems I do today. What do? Zoom 6. Zoom 6 will get you back to the original window all the time for the rest of your life. So everybody in the class go Zoom 6. And we already know this one's not going to look great, but that's okay. Also, if you have a yellow calculator, do me a favor, hit Y equals and then clear so that the people in the other periods actually have to do it. Okay. All right, you guys. So number 33. This is the last problem before we do notes on this. And the notes are going to feel redundant because we've done this a lot of times now. But for 33, I'm going to do the first one. I want you to pretend that I'm taking the quiz next week. So I walk in the door. Mrs. Salvett gives me the quiz. She does not allow me to use a calculator. Calculator's gone. Okay, what is she going to expect me to know with no calculator? Okay, so don't look at this guy yet. Just going to do this one right here. So you're watching me take the quiz right now. Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is vertical asymptote x equals -1. And I'm going to label in that asymptote. Okay, then I'm gonna say horizontal asymptote. I'm gonna look here for a number. There's no number there. That means the number there is 0. I'm going to make my poor red pen mad. Are you guys with me so far? Okay, I'm going to say the domain is everything except X cannot be the vertical asymptote. I'm going to say the range is everything except Y cannot be the horizontal asymptote. And then I'm going to sketch the curve. I'm not going to make a table. I'm not going to worry about how my curve looks. I'm literally going to take a couple seconds, make it look like it's approaching here. And here. And that is all I expect from you on a quiz with a problem like that with no calculator. I expect you to be able to find the vertical and horizontal asymptotes off the equation and the domain and range off of the equation, sketch the asymptotes, and then just like approximate the curve. Does that make sense? Okay, I want you guys to do the second one in your groups. No calculator, practice like you're doing the quiz. This one over here. Definitely talk about it. Is you not talking a good thing or a bad thing? I can't tell. All right, you guys, spoiler coming. Don't look at the screen unless you're ready. Now it's on my quiz. problem today after this. We're gonna take notes on this, and I'm gonna throw in a different horizontal asymptote value. And that's the last thing for today. Oh, ridiculously excellent question. Wonderful question. Fabulous question. Okay, the question was, is the hyperbola always going to exist on the top right and bottom left? Is there ever going to be a time when the hyperbola is on the top left and bottom right? Yes, it's going to be when there's a negative in front of that fraction. When there's a negative in front of that fraction, which we haven't experienced yet, it'll be in these two quadrants instead of those two. Love it. Curiosity, awesome. Okay. Any questions about this before I move on? Also, do you understand what the requirements are, what I would look for on a quiz? Like, I know you're not going to have exact coordinate points. The sketch is okay. Style points, though, if you try to make your asymptotes look like they approach or make the curve look like it approaches the asymptotes, but doesn't cross it. So try not to touch the asymptotes with your curve. Thank you. Okay. Last problem of the day. And look at that, I threw in a -2 up the end. Ooh, stop it, you're crazy. All right, guys, let's define asymptotes. Asymptotes are a line that a graph approaches but does not touch or cross. A line that a graph approaches but does not touch or cross. We will represent those with dashed lines on our paper. And it's sort of a lie, to be honest with you. There are graphs that we're not going to do them in Math 3. There are graphs in pre-calc and calculus that cross over an asymptote near the origin, but then approach an asymptote as they get farther out. We're not going to worry about that for our class, but I just wanted you to know I was sort of lying. You know how we always sort of lie? Like we tell you you can't square root a negative, and then one day in Math 2, we just drop the boom on you and tell you it's an I. Yeah, this is kind of like that. Okay. Rational and exponential functions have asymptotes. Exponential is back from Math 1. We're going to go over that again in chapter 2. So give that some time. Okay, now here's our problem. we know some stuff from this. We know there is a vertical asymptote at x equals -3. Okay, if the -3 doesn't immediately jump to you, go x plus 3 equals 0, -3, -3, x equals -3. That's all okay to do. If you need to, totally fine. That's not right. That's y equals -3. Here I'm trying to hurry for you. Okay. I know there's a horizontal asymptote at y equals -2. That is because of this -2 off the end. It's a shift down 2 units. I know two more things. I know the domain is everything except x can't be -3. I know the range is everything except y cannot be -2. And I know that this is a positive fraction. We just talked about this. So I know my curve is going to be in the top right and bottom left. And I'm done. Grab your phones when you're ready.